Welcome back to Tea and Stuff. Back with another guest. We have my good friend Marco, someone I've known a good while, someone I've had the pleasure of actually meeting in person twice now, which is fantastic for being as far away that you are. He's in Chicago, I'm in upstate New York. Marco started as just a tea enthusiast, and then I saw him move to a writer and then a reviewer, and then quickly ball rolled into a staple in today's current kind of tea world. Beyond everything that you've done just with yourself and with tea, to set this aside from it, because they're two separate accomplishments, you also have started what is known as the Activist Tea House. So again, this is Marco. I'll let you give just a little more brief information and probably start off talking a little bit about the what you got going on. So go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's always a pleasure, even from a couple of years ago, meeting for the first time, getting to spend an entire afternoon with amazing weather in upstate New York, to even our trip to New York to see you.
Which is mind blowing because our weather isn't that good.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty comparable to Chicago's, but that means that it can always be, it's kind of a gamble. You never know what you're gonna get. Yeah. So yeah, my name is Marco. I have worked within the industry for the last eight plus years. And yeah, Activist Tea House was certainly something that was a great community effort, I'd say, with me and three others, Jin, Ree, and Jess. So of course, activist-teahouse.com has more information on kind of what we do there. And yeah, kind of content creation around tea. The blog is definitely nice to have a space for me to put my thoughts down. It's a matter of getting to that more often. But yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So I mean, Activist Tea House emerged during COVID, right? Or was it prior to that?
It was Black Lives Matter was really a big catalyst for that, and it was a lot that had to do with everything that was going on.
Oh, especially in the tea. Yes. Okay. So that brings me okay. I'm fresh in memory. That's what's so interesting about it is that, so with Corona and then plus the Black Lives Matter, plus all the chaos that started rumbling with that, a lot of tea personalities, obviously shifted gear. A lot of them felt it was extremely important that, tea had to wait. This had to be the forefront. And then you saw people, creators or whatever, start to feel conflicted over, well, do I do my content normally? Or do I do this? And is it appropriate if I mix this and this? I mean, no matter how you feel on it, it's just like, is this an appropriate thing to bring into this, business type situation? Then the Activist Tea House emerged. It was literally like, so if it was like, okay, if right now tea content isn't really what you're looking for, you more want to hear people in the tea community talking about what's going on, then here's a actual place where you can go to, and all of that's the main purpose of it.
Yeah, I think, it really was created to embody the aspects that so much happens around tea that isn't just about the tea. The conversations in a tea house through millennia has been a place of communication, of varying ideas and opinions, of action, of political strife. And so we kind of wanted we didn't see that really existed in contemporary, at least on Instagram, through social media that way. And we said, well, there's so many things that tea connects us to. Let's just talk about some of those connections and bring it into the world. I think we all understood the beautiful aspects of tea and sitting down for tea, but it's just more than that. It doesn't exist in a bubble, and it doesn't exist just for ourselves. And especially when so many of the challenges and inequities that have been taking place over the past, couple of years, just say in a snapshot, can be linked in some way where we can talk about tea as well. It's kind of a no-brainer. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice for me. It was a nice thing to emerge for everyone, including myself, for what I was doing, because I was so tossed up over like, what do I personally do with my voice? Like, what's the correct actions? And when I really analyzed it, I was like, I think my role is to just tea, just to keep with the tea, keep with talking about tasting. Every now and then, obviously, you can dip into a subject because it comes up. It's in live sessions, it's fine. But like the people knew that my live session was a place that, for a different type of serenity, was there. For the people that they were like, oh my gosh, I agree with everything that people are fighting for, but I can't handle it right now. I need just some normal stuff. So it was luckily that I made that decision to keep my course the way it was going. At this, like, in the same moment, then it was really good for certain people that were like, I think you need to talk about this more. It's like, I take that, I think about it, I'll put it in consideration.
Right.
But it's like here is what my buddy Marco is doing, right? And it's like they're putting together something that is literally for this, and even
Exactly.
so specific as tea industry people talking.
Yeah.
So it's like it was the perfect thing for those people that needed that type of content. It was there. But if they, there were people that needed to take a more normal course, it was nice that I had decided to kind of help fill that role. But
yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what, we can't expect everyone to have a stance that is like, activism looks like many, many different things. And that's, a lot of that goes unseen. And so it's important to kind of know that what one person does could be just as valid as the next person, depending on, kind of disregarding even how visible it is. You just don't know. And we don't always need to have our opinion out there. It's not ours always to bear. We just can't do that. And so that's one reason why even Activist Tea House, the four of us said, like, our scope is very limited, and our lived experience throughout the country, our own heritage and roots that we're constantly evaluating and unpacking. And so it becomes a community effort. It becomes a network, because I know that there are things that I will always have quite a limited capacity for. And so to have someone else as a resource is important. And that's where using tea as the vessel to mediate connecting outward is vital. And then hopefully there are topics that get touched upon, and other people within the community get to shine, because, we can't just do it by ourselves. That's definitely something that takes it, it takes a village. It's very correct for something like that.
I'm just a firm believer, and there should be like a place for everyone. Like, everyone should have their own little beliefs club, provided, they act responsibly as one should be, trying to be a collective. But yeah, that was a really, I think, rough time for everyone in a million different ways. And it was really hard to just see a lot of people really dragged through the mud, just tired from their efforts going into just trying to help even if it's in little ways, counsel or help, just help someone who needs a little point of direction. Like, oh, it was awful. And you know, obviously stuff keeps happening, and it's the world. It's what it is. And but luckily, there's people like you that are creating outlets for people and making it known that within the tea community, there's so many subset communities, and that's like a really big one as a resource. So, and you're doing it with great people too. So it's
totally. I mean, yeah, they can get the credit because you know, it's such a group effort, and we constantly are being challenged ourselves. You know, there are times where people have asked, like, "Hey, we haven't heard you speak on this," and that's tough. It's tough to see that at times of people looking toward and being like, "What's the stance here?" And for sometimes to be like,
has there ever
don't
been
know.
Has there ever been conflict within that?
Mm.
Obviously, no names need to be named, but just sort of.
Oh yeah.
Has there ever been has it ever gotten kind of hot in the discussions?
I don't feel like I don't feel like it's necessarily gotten
awesome.
hot, too hot before. I mean, there have been people. Let's take Palestine and Israel, right? That was something that was taking place kind of in the middle of internally for us. There were some changes, and we couldn't necessarily organize and come together those months. And so that was a struggle to kind of see that, to do as much on our own parts to learn and talk to people within the tea community. To just start understanding some of the nuance. And that was something that it was tough to have not necessarily come out with a bunch of content for, but to know that that's a very pressing issue. I think there was someone, and it was pretty random, that had been like, "Why haven't you said anything about this yet?" And I don't remember if it was for that or another issue.
Yeah, well,
and yeah, it can be tough to ask why. I mean, part of it is understanding that, like, there's 4 people that we like to speak with some sort of unison in one voice. The thing is, like, we're on the same page, which is good. But when we can't communicate super well, it becomes difficult to kind of represent what that is, and create the space for that. Like the mental fatigue that just, you know, obviously coming from a place of privilege, that mental fatigue is very little compared to the lived experiences that are going on to people. So, but I think it's knowing our capacity and trying to figure out. I think that's where it's that much more important to grow the community and network. And yeah, you know, people are doing it and are involved because they want to be. There's no pay or anything like that involved.
I was just curious because, like, you know, the tea world is obviously a little, it attracts the more peaceful minded person, right? But I would say that even within followers that I know personally, I mean, I do know some that definitely have, I would say, opposing views to the collective that they're normally thought of as the tea community. And I was just wondering if, like, one of those people, like, did become a part of Activist Tea House, and during a discussion just sort of not in an attacking way, but just sort of it'd be interesting to see, and I think it would be actually a good testament to see if somebody, and I'm not inviting people to do that, but I think that seeing that would be interesting, because you would see you see that you've created a space that's so safe that somebody that wasn't opposing something that someone else said, but they just finally felt they were in an arena where they could voice their opinion in a respectful way. Like, I was just interested to see if that had happened. It would just be a very interesting sort of finding from almost the experiment that you're doing. It would just sort of be like, wow, because the T group, it's not all Democrats. It's not all, it isn't. But I will
You got people on
say
all sides.
that what I kind of thought you would answer that is that it's beautiful to see that through so much different stuff that's been thrown the past, not just 2 years, it's amazing how resilient that specifically the T community is. It's like, it's so wild. Like the people are open, mostly honest, never have any real malice. Like, but still there's some people out there that really speak their minds. One of those people I always giggle about is Jeffrey Norman. I mean, he's the one, and he's kind of like that. Like I was saying, he's the one guy that it would just be, he's the guy who would in a discussion be like, hear what you guys are saying, but here's 2 cents just onto that. And it's really, really, I think it's important to have, and I'm not saying he has all oppositional views off of him now, but it's just, it's beautiful to it's beautiful to see that we all kind of do have a similar mindset. Like our end goal is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But still, we all kind of do still live our own lives. It's not just a sheep following type situation. And with all these elements and something like an activist group, not actively, but like a speech group, it's super, I don't know, something special.
Yeah, in the town halls, we had monthly town halls. That was the chance for kind of the community to come together face to face to some extent. If people needed their cameras off, that's okay. If they felt more comfortable typing, that was okay. It wasn't everyone on the same exact page saying the same thing. I think everyone understood what the purpose was, and that was to have a space that was being maintained and held in a way that invited discourse. That also was a big part of just listening, because the community, I feel, hadn't been listened to in that sort of way. There were a lot of different perspectives. I remember we set a I don't think it was a live session. It was a town hall, and it happened to fall on like a Jewish holiday. And none of us had that on our radar. And it was great for someone to say, hey, I'm not able to make it because of this. Could you keep that in mind? And for us, it was like, a lot of those, learning moments where we're like, dang it, why didn't we think of that? And so our calendars changed, our notifications changed. It allowed us to, I've already been kind of acclimated to a big time zone shift for like London at time. But that was another thing of, where is everyone? We had people from Indonesia joining at 2 a.m. And so, they were super willing, because that was a space that they felt was the only thing that existed for them. Here in the US, a bunch of people coming together to talk about this specific thing where they could be themselves.
A lot of the groups,
they would stay up.
A lot of groups like yours are, because of the purpose, they're black and white, not race, but they're either it's one belief extreme or the other. What I really love about the activist T group, is that they truly acknowledge the gray. Like there's
a lot of that.
Not in a bad way, but just sort of there's so many people from so many options that I feel like more gets considered, because there's so many different ideas that are going into this one meld.
Yeah, we certainly, I think, have our own biases, and I think that's something that we try to maintain a check on.
Everybody,
but the world is messy. Yeah, the world is messy. We're messy, and there's a lot of times where we say, I don't know, and that's okay, or I haven't thought about that, or
Sometimes I
Yeah.
have to go
I
back.
know.
Sometimes I'll have to like message someone back and go, you know what, listen, I really was thinking about what we were talking about earlier. And I know I
Yeah.
said A, but this, let me elaborate a little more and tell you how I really feel about it. Like I'll realize that how I first conveyed it didn't truly reflect what I was trying to say. So sometimes it takes that consideration.
Especially with the topics like that. I mean, you do that so well in your live sessions, and I think you go live at least once a day in most cases, and there's this really great flow of spending time on these sensitive topics and also having it be a space of tea, that isn't easy to mediate, without the years of practice and just doing it in the sincerity, because it's coupled sometimes with those follow-up messages or emails that take place.
It took, I think the thing that was hardest to learn about for live sessions was how to just take whatever is randomly thrown at you and then decide what to do with it. Like you can ignore it, you can catch it, you can catch it and meld it a little bit. Like there's definitely been times for me when people have come into my live sessions and just said crazy stuff, like trolls.
Yeah.
Like like for a while, I just think it's maybe a year or so ago, I was getting so many America sucks, death to America.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you picked the wrong live session to come into. It's just like, so I just would ignore it. Like I just kick them out, or I'd laugh at them and kick them out. I just be like it's funny because then you see all the other people that are in it are like in the same response. They're like, can you kick this guy out? It's like, yeah. Like, so it's
classroom management.
But sometimes like it's good though. Like when somebody throws like almost a little bit of a curveball, like, oh, you're saying this about ball roll longs, but I was listening to someone the other day and they were saying, and I love that kind of stuff, because whether I agree or I don't agree, it's always interesting to take that and just sort of figure out what area they're coming from and then figure out the appropriate way to
totally
put it back
out.
out.
Especially in a live setting where like you're formulating your thoughts in real time. And I prefer taking a little bit of time to ensure that intent is clarified, but you don't always have that chance. And discomfort is always a good thing to work through. I mean, I remember someone recently left a comment that when I took a second to look at, I was like, oh, we're just saying two different things. So let me clarify, because I thought that when I had written something, it was clear, and it got taken this way. And I was like, oh, no, I think we're saying the same thing, but just FYI.
Comes back on. Hold on. There we go.
Oh, nice.
I got to tell you about, what were you just saying? Rewind me back a little bit. You were saying like the
on
situation.
A post, it was something, a post captioned and providing clarification after seeing someone's response.
Okay. All right, I'm back. I got it. So I have a crazy story for you. And I got contacted by one of the first people that a person who is part of the tea community a long time before me. Definitely knows what they're talking about. Asian, in touch with very legitimate person, right? She fast forward to like maybe a year or so, I think it was during the Black Lives Matter thing, actually. She messaged me and she was like, hey, did you see this? And she sends me a screenshot of a person's post. And I was like, yeah, like, huh? And she goes, did you even look at the picture?
Yeah.
And I looked closer. And I saw there was something in the picture that was, and then you read the caption that went with it, and it was like, oh no. Right. And so she was like, I saw that you had liked it, and I know, at least I thought I knew, that you were not that kind of person. So she's like, I thought I would respectfully come to you about it and just say, hey man, just wondering what this is, did you look at the picture? And in fact, I didn't.
Yeah.
And it was material that if somebody took it as, he liked that is something that he supports. That really shook my boots. And it, ever since then, if I ever catch myself scrolling and liking, I stop and I go, whoa.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll even back up a little bit, because it's like, I follow a lot of different people, again, a lot of different backgrounds, have a lot of different views. And sometimes just you liking that person's photo can be taken as a, you support this is what you're about, and then can put you in a position where you have to then either defend yourself or double down or whatever. But it's
totally. Yeah, I agree. I was in that same boat of like, in the carousel of images, I totally did not see that one. And I was like, fair. I was like, I'll check closer. And I kind of had the same policy of like, not just scroll liking for stuff, and to take a closer look at things. Cause that was hidden. That was pretty, at least to me, I was like, oh man, there is no way. It took me a bit.
Yeah. Well, like I said, she sent me the screenshot and was like, what about it? And I looked at it again and I was like, I don't know.
I was like, I'm sorry. I don't, I'm pretty sure I was like, I'm not sure
but
what I'm saying, but
So that was like a really, that shook me. And it really, I always convey that to people of just like, well, not if anyone, but if you have somewhat of a reputation, or you have you're a point of reference for someone else, you got to be a little more careful on social media. It's the same thing as like when your parents had their first talk with you about social media, like, be careful what you're posting, people can see it. Like it's the same thing. It really is. Not just what you're posting, but what you're liking can work against you. Even just double clicking a photo. Like, I know it's crazy, and I think in a lot of cases it would be overkill to yell at someone for that, but I don't know, man. This day and age, that type of stuff is taken seriously right now. So it's like, you don't have to agree with it necessarily, but you have to respect it. And
because like people are very little of what they post, in the grand scheme of things. Like, that is one facet. But
my mom battled me forever and was like, why won't you be my friend on Facebook? Why won't you do? And I go, Mom, what I post on Facebook for me is I post random thoughts. It's sometimes it's completely nonsensical. I mean, completely. It's just something I want to blurt out. And I was like, so when you see those things, I don't want you to be like, oh, I need to worry or yell at me or something like that. And so a couple of times I've given her a chance on social media, and lo and behold, I'll just post something that maybe has some inkling of me being maybe partially sad or something. And then I get a call from her, and it's like, I understand that it's her just like, that's just love, but like, oh my gosh. It was just like, Mom, you just got to understand, like, if I'm upset and I need like to talk to my mom, I have your number, and I have there's no reservations about calling. Like, if I have problems, I call her all the time. So it's like, you need to just understand that social media, and sometimes like I post things that's like business related. So it's like, it's just like, she doesn't fully get that. So
gotcha.
I did allow her. She is currently my friend. So she just has to behave. I told her she has to behave herself.
Funny.
The only other mix of parents and social media I ever had was one time I got a call from my dad, and he was like livid, and he was like, somebody showed me your Facebook page. And this was like, dude, this was the dawn of social media. So like, any crazy thing happened at a party, you put it up on your social media.
Right.
Like,
totally.
And he, amongst other things, he sees a video of me in this party house my friend's at. And I'm in these like chroma key green, like tight underwear. That's it. I mean, wasted playing Pong, screaming Kelly Clarkson since you've been gone. Like
Nice.
at the top of my lungs. And yeah, so my dad was like, you take it down. So I was like, that was the first time. And then like, obviously as I go through, I'm taking stuff down, I'm seeing stuff that's like, yeah, that was, you just shouldn't post that.
Yeah.
So even though I learned that lesson as early as I did, the evolution of how social media works, how that same thing ended up happening to me. Luckily, I have that friend that could point it out to me and say, hey, man, just want you to let you know about this. It was kind of the same thing as my dad. It's kind of the same thing as my dad reaching out to me, not even to yell at me. Just, again, it was coming from a place of concern. It was just like, I just want to make sure you're being seen the way that I know you are and the way you want to be. And it was like, you're right. So it was a big slap on the wrist, but it's worth telling that story because it can be the littlest thing. Yeah. And you do want to hope that even if your friend has some kind of, racy view on something, you'd hope that you could reach out to them and, it probably wouldn't be the situation of just they were being a horrible person. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes social media is just a stupid outlet for the randomest of our brains. And I know that I do that, and I have to currently I have to check myself with that all the time. Even with stuff like depression. I'll just normal depression, but sometimes it builds up a bit, and all of a sudden, like all my live sessions are just have this negative connotation to them. And people are messaging me about, hey, how do you feel about this production method? I'm like, this, and I have this like snarl attitude. And I've over the years, I've gotten really good at noticing that and just being like, you need to be a better, like sometimes you need to take a look at how you're being perceived, how you're truly being perceived as to how you just think you're being perceived in the moment.
Right. Well, and it's also, I think we have to step out of ourselves and ask, what is this person coming to me for? Like, why? And sometimes you're not feeling about giving that perspective in that sort of way or investing that time and thought, because we're human. But it does help at times to be like, oh wait, this is probably why, and maybe I can't do it now, but in a couple of days I can revisit that and give a bunch of information or something like that. I think the pandemic has certainly encouraged us to understand that time is very different for people, and being able to stop and take time for response is much more acceptable, which is nice, I think.
So on a lighter note, I wanted to was it Chicago that just announced their tea festival, or was it Midwest? Oh man. I can't tell you.
So
not that I can.
Are you going?
It. No.
Oh no.
It's far. I'd have to find some way to fund the trip. It would. I mean, if there's a way I can figure it out, I'll do it. But I'm just so glad to have heard that. Just an announcement in itself made me so
already happy.
Just so happy.
Yeah.
Just to see things are rolling forward. Like I cannot be thankful enough. I keep every couple months I dig at the people in Toronto. I'm like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? And it's like, we're watching, like we want it to. But we've got for tea people, man, we have been badly neglected of tea friends. And like think about like not only just the people that don't get to do tea with their friends, or they can't travel to the next town necessarily, that haven't been able to do stuff like that, but like the festivals are so big. like for
Yeah.
vendors to make money, but also for not only for participants. Dude, I can't tell you, Toronto, how many of those vendors I guarantee are giddy the night before to just talk to some of their friends.
Yeah.
Like
That's
it
it.
is, yeah.
It's one big tea party, you know?
It is.
I mean, I know World Tea Expo was what, in March, which is a quick turnaround, I feel. You know, I feel like it just happened, which it did a couple month or two ago. Midwest, and then yeah, if Toronto's happening, that's usually what, February,
February,
beginning
yeah.
of February or end of February. So it's a big stretch. I mean, even for Midwest, there's a number of people that I know that are going to be there. So it's a matter of like, let's rent an Airbnb house for the weekend and let's all split it. Get like
Smart.
6 people plus. You
That's
know, that'd be super nice.
That's fun and economical.
Yeah, it doesn't have to break the bank. It doesn't have to be a burden. Like we all want to just see each other and have good tea and meet people. So
I don't even know how far.
I'm certainly looking forward to that.
It's Kansas City, right?
Yeah. I mean, I assume for you it'd be like if it was a flight, what,
It would be a quick. It'd be a quick flight. It'd be a real quick flight. Driving would be tough. I think that would be because it's on the other side of Ohio, right? Or below Ohio. I think
it's closer to me. It's like if it was to be a drive.
Oh, that's right. Why the hell?
6-8 hours.
God. Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
oh my gosh, that's how off my geography is, man.
No problem.
I was going out past Ohio.
Yeah. Yeah. So I definitely am looking forward to making that happen to be there. And then Chicago is we're still trying to figure out dates for Chicago's.
I know Nicole and we were talking about just how incredible the first year of the Chicago Tea Fest was.
Yeah.
I mean, I said, I was watching it the whole time and I had good feelings about it the whole time because the person organizing it was a real OG for Tea Fests. So she already knew what to do, what not to do right off the bat. The location of it brought a really good array of vendors. Also an amazing amount, and not just amount, but quality of speakers, and presentations. And then you see all the extracurricular activity of everybody packed into a tea space. And it's like, you know, in terms of tea celebrities, like, there's some like big names but it's not stuffy. It's not like it's outside the festival setting. Everybody's just laughing and conversing. It's very wild.
It was wild, you know, and intimate, and everyone just is happy to be there. Like to bump into Kevin and sit next to him at like a presentation and hear his thoughts come from a completely different perspective is wild.
Kevin G.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I'll tell you, it's another thing I was talking about with Nicole. I won't repeat myself, but he is a person that it's so crazy. He is in the world of tea. If you really do look at it, he's a really big figure and he has his hands in a lot of projects. He meets, I can't imagine how many people per day, talks to how many people per day. But his memory of people is uncanny. A few times he's forgotten my name, which normally people would be like, "Oh, he forgot my name." It's like, no, the fact that he remembered who I was and was just like, "Hey," and then picks up from the conversation we talked about last year is like, and then it's just such a beautiful thing. I love. Who are some of the people I talked about? Hoji Chaco, beautiful people. World Tea House Phil, who
nice.
I had followed him and stuff, but I never. He is a fun guy. Like I really like spending time with him, and I really he came over to our place in Toronto during the Tea Fest, and just had a little tasting at the Airbnb we had, and he came, and he was just a hoot. And oh, just all these people from all over the place that talk to so many people, that I think it's unbelievably impressive when, especially these bigger people, like have the recall, like,
yeah, and can give you the time, you know, not like they will find the 5-10 minutes to step away with you and like give you their full undivided attention. And that's like, that's cool. It does huge things for people, you know, for a budding tea enthusiast or someone that's passionate and wanting to get their foot into the industry in some way. Like, I think that's what's cool, is that everyone understands how difficult that is, and like how close knit and tight the community can be. That more often than not, I feel like people are willing to help each other up, you know?
Yeah, Sucha was newer to the Toronto Tea Festival, and you can tell that she got welcomed with like open arms. Like her booth was always busy. I did go to her lecture, and it was so insightful. I had never heard that much personal knowledge information about tea production in Korea from somebody who really lived and breathed it. It's just, she was a beautiful addition. And she's every year there's a new person that you meet, you establish, and it's a business. Like a lot of people are like, whenever I go to Toronto, they're like, was it like a business or is it pleasure thing? And I'm like, it really is mostly pleasure, but it's also kind of cool that there is business in there too. Like, even if it's just talking and making relations and just, you know.
Yeah.
There's who's on your list of tea people that you got to meet? Like, even if it's not necessarily possible, but like, who's on your list?
There's so many people. Shoot. I mean, Ezra and I haven't gotten to like meet in person. You haven't gotten to meet Ezra in person either. I think a lot of us, we're all just waiting to meet Ezra. Let's see. Oh man, there's so many people. There's a lot of the California crew.
When I think about like
you know, I really want to see
people,
Adam Yasmin.
Oh yeah.
I know you had Adam on like a couple weeks ago. I know he did his like country tour, but I didn't get a chance to see him because schedules just didn't line up for us.
I wish James Norwood Pratt is a huge one for me. It would be so beautiful to just, even not like nothing more than to just, you know, just say hi, you know, just, I appreciate what you've done and your place in the world. Just
massive contributions. It's wild. Synonymous with I don't know, the power. I don't know. I like it. There's the power of observation through his content, his words, you know, what he's done in documentaries and stuff. So it's that would be one. Man, there's so many. And I feel like every year there's a couple people that I get to actually like see in real life. Like Maggie from Us 2T earlier in the summer. To see you and Nicole again. It's just that's where it's like the festivals are huge, because it's a really good excuse to say I'll go across the country, like let's finally meet up in person. And it's never been a bad experience. It's always like I feel like I've met these people before and interacted with them enough that like finally just it's like it was always there. There's so many people.
I'll tell you, I really hope this year provides for, you know, some possibilities for that to happen. I think everybody's been so bogged down without traveling that I have to assume there's going to be like a travel boom in the next few years. Like
couple years,
international, you know, within your country, tons of vacation. I truly think that's something that's going to kind of be down the road. And once that opens up, I was bummed that I couldn't see Adam.
Canada.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
I was bummed I didn't see Adam when he came through his country
Oh
ride.
no, you too.
His
Yeah,
so when I found out he was doing the cross country, I was like, wait, what is your like? What direction are you going? Like from where?
yeah.
Because if and then he was going to New York City, so depending
He's
on
going to
how
Maine,
he
right?
went, so he went towards
Oh,
me and then he dipped down and then he went far down, really far away from me, and then
yeah.
curled back up and then met the bottom of New
Oh
York City.
no.
So it
Oh,
was
so
like,
sad.
oh, it was so funny because he was like, oh, where are you? And I was like, not close.
Yeah, yeah.
Not close, unfortunately.
That's too bad.
I know. I always get kind of like, I get that like kind of feeling of like slight hurt when like you see somebody is in your area and like either you didn't
And
hear
didn't.
out or whatever.
Yeah.
But like then you have to think about like for me when I go to Rochester all the time, and I just feel so
Yeah.
bad. I like never reach out to any of the people that I'm friends with out there,
Yeah.
and it's not because I don't
Yeah.
care about them.
Totally. I mean, even when I was in Seattle, there were a couple people that I had wanted to see, and we were like, yeah, and we spent couple days camping, but then it just didn't work out, and it's really tough because like, yeah, as much as I wanted to visit tea houses there, I still have not stopped into a tea house. I think Friday Tea I wanted to stop into, and then I went to a wrong location. They weren't there, and I was like, oh no. Um, but we also were feeling kind of under the weather from camping, and that was kind of scary. Which
Yeah,
it ended up being nothing, but it was like, cool. Well, play it safe because I'm not gonna, I'll be responsible. Um, yeah, it was just really cold and damp the entire time that we were camping. So we came out of that drinking lots of soup and
even if
laying
you're
low.
even if you're not sick from that, like even if you don't have
Yeah,
like a bug or something you can point to and say this is wrong with your body, after
yeah,
you're in that environment for a certain amount of time, it just bogs you down.
right.
Like,
So yeah, I get if people are visiting and passing by, they won't always be able to see Nazanin. She came serendipitously during the time that we hosted the tea event at a tea house, where I was pouring tea for literally like 15 plus people.
I
And
remember that.
she came at the height of it when it was the most packed. And I was like, oh, I think she was around for 30 minutes, but I only got to talk to her for maybe 5. And otherwise I was pouring tea and stuff.
Your head was spinning
So
from
yeah,
serving
it was
people.
great. It was so cool. So you take the moments that you can, and just the fact that they stopped by was plenty.
She just went to New York. I mean,
Saw.
I don't.
So did Amber Sylvan Tea. I thought was around there too at some
Yep,
point recently.
yep. She actually met up with Nicole for the
Yeah,
opening of the new kettle location.
that's cool.
Nicole
It's on
treated
my list.
herself. She treated herself to take a day into the city to go check out the new kettle.
Nice.
I was like, that's appropriate.
It's worth
That,
it.
that's
Yeah, it's a long
appropriate.
trek for her, but it's good. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, now it's just obviously we're getting into autumn and winter, and this is the time to kind of take care of ourselves, recharge, rest, and get ready for spring.
I
At least
I
that's
went
what
I went
how
to
I'm feeling.
my doctor in preparation for the upcoming seasons, and I had them do a
Yeah.
bunch of blood work.
Mhm.
Um, I'm always very deficient in vitamin D, but they re-looked at the levels and they saw it was low enough where they doubled up on the amount that I was taking. I'm just trying
Yeah.
to get ahead of things. I want to make sure vitamin D is a really important one, and I'm naturally very deficient in it. So I
Yeah.
was like, going into these seasons, I need to amp up the vitamin D. I need to make sure I'm taking, vitamin C, magnesium. If you're make sure you're drinking water. It seems it's so wild, but the thing to like really get you through this are the most simple things.
Yep.
Like it,
Even if they're uncomfortable, that's the thing with it being cold. Even 30 minutes outside just walking is, if you've got sun, is super helpful. Um, Even though it's not comfortable. I'm tired of the cold. I I want to be somewhere where it's warmer in the winters. But yeah,
Yeah, like I said, we have terrible winters here that last forever. But I would prefer this over the hurricanes and the tornadoes and the
yeah,
wildfires. Like upstate New York is fortunately boring in that way. Like we
yeah,
just don't get hit with natural disaster. We just don't.
yeah,
So it might be boring, which that's part of the reason that it sucks, but also part of the reason that it's good is that it is that
hmm
simple.
yeah. I mean, it's pretty similar to here. I mean, we're landlocked. I mean, we're in the middle of the country. We've got the lake, which is nice, and it's not providing anything that's disastrous. Like things are getting wetter on this side, right? And just in general, regionally.
Yeah.
But that's, that's minimal compared to at the ends for sure and north. So yeah, it's I feel safe.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot that eases my mind just from being here in that regard, but I also feel the pull to move, you know.
Well,
Um,
life's
so
pretty
that's
long.
yeah,
There's a lot of chances along the way to do things and travel and
yeah,
experience different things. As long as you're just
exactly.
content with your current self, that's the icing. Well, we're perfectly reaching the limit of time.
Nice.
I've
Cool.
obviously I always have a ball talking with you. If you want to just give out kind of what social medias you're on and where to
Hmm.
reach you.
Yeah, I'm on what? Instagram, TikTok, Clubhouse. You look for Steeped, STEAPD, either underscore and then T. That'll work. My blog or website is steeped.com. And yeah, hope to share more tea soon.
Oh, absolutely, man. I really appreciate it. Obviously, again, starting the podcast, it was like that you were one of the first people I had help test this stuff
Yeah,
out too. So it was only a matter of very short time before you got on here. But
thank you.
I appreciate you, man. Above as a tea person, I appreciate you as a friend. And I'll give a nice kind of tea salute to you.
Yeah,
Have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk again soon.
yeah. Much love. Thanks.
Subscribe, comment, follow him, all the stuff. Peace out.